Some lives are shaped by starting over more than once. Zulma's story moves across countries, careers, and identities, each transition asking her to begin again, with fewer guarantees and more intention. From growing up in Argentina to immigrating to the United States in her 30s, Zulma learned early what it meant to adapt. Later, she returned to school in midlife, balancing work, doubt, and persistence as she built a new professional path. Just as that chapter closed, a cancer diagnosis forced another recalibration, this time not just of plans, but of mindset. This conversation follows those turning points, from education later in life, to living with illness, to the daily work of managing anxiety, grief, and self-talk. Zulma shares how discipline replaced motivation, how perspective reshaped fear, and how focusing on the present became essential rather than optional. Zulma talks about therapy as a human process, not a polished one, about language, honesty, and meeting people where they actually are. She also reflects on choosing reinvention again at 60, relocating to Panama, and building a life aligned with what matters now, not what once felt expected. This isn't a story about fixing yourself. It's a story about staying engaged with your life through change, about learning to carry what you've been through without letting it define your limits, and about continuing to move forward, even when the path doesn't look traditional. Welcome to No One is Normal, the podcast where real stories remind us that none of us are alone. You can also visit the website www.bradhhill.com or www.nooneisnormal.co for resources, updates, and future podcast episodes. I am Brad H. Hill, and each week we talk about the messy, the complicated, and the deeply human moments that shape us and remain in our memories. I am not here to tell anyone how to live. I am here to offer the stories, the insights that made me realize that no one is normal, including me, because healing starts when self-honesty begins. Well, thank you, Zulma, for being on the show.
Of course.
So let's start. How do you usually describe who you are today, meeting someone for the first time?
I will say I am Zulma, the swearing therapist, a licensed clinical social worker who likes to keep it real and swears a lot.
So a lot of swearing, but a lot of good behind the swearing, right?
Yes, it's always well intentioned.
Yeah, sometimes my swear words are bad, so I usually swear like a sailor, and it's never a good situation, right? Um, what was life growing up in Argentina before therapy was even on your radar?
um, it was good. I'm the youngest of four, and my dad was the one working. My mom was a stay at home mom, a homemaker, and I grew up normal. Whatever normal means. My parents divorced when I was separated when I was 8, and I saw my dad every other weekend, and I thought that that was like how life was, right? Like, I mean, there was no, I had a lot of classmates who their parents were separated too. So it was like, oh, like a lot of playing outside, playing with neighbors and friends, and um, went to school. And then I graduated high school, and then at 31, I decided to move to the United States. The situation in Argentina, unfortunately, still is. But at the time was I didn't have a job, and the socioeconomic situation wasn't the best. So I made the decision to move to the United States and see if I can make it there.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, you mentioned kind of having the split marriage, mother and father separation. I think a lot of people have come from broken homes the last 20, 25 years. It seems like there's a little bit more of a shift towards people staying together for the kids till the kids are adults, and then I think some of their past was traumatized, so they wanted to stay together for the kids, and then they split amicably after. But what kind of pushed the immigration to the U.S.? Like, was there just any event that happened, or was it just a
Oh
want to
yeah,
do?
so I had this idea of wanted to move to the United States since I was a teenager, but something very traumatic happened. I had a cousin who was a year older than me, so he was probably 32, and he had a stroke and died
Hmm.
unexpectedly. And it was
Sorry to hear
like
that.
it was like, thank you, it was just like so traumatizing, because at 31 you think you have your entire life in front of you, right? And his passing made it so real that you want to do this, you better go now, right? Like in it just completely shift my perception, because I'm like, oh, I'm 31. And it's like, no, life can be taken away from you in a second. So I think that within probably 4 months of his passing, I made a move. And my therapist at the time, he was like, when I told him, I'm like, okay, I'm leaving in December. And he was like, I'm very proud of you. So I think that his reaction was like, I've been talking about this for so long, but now I'm making the move, right? And I was like, yeah, that was very, very traumatic. And at the same time, such a wake up call.
So how was it immigrating into the U.S.? Was it kind of a hard at first to try to get established and get a job and figure everything out? Like, you kind of walk through that process and how hard it was to kind of come into here?
Yeah, it was very hard at the beginning, although I had an uncle and one of my mom's brothers. He was already established in California, and he helped me at the beginning, but it's still the cultural shock. I didn't speak English when I moved. I knew how to read and write because I had English in high school, but there was no practice, right, of conversation. So I remember getting in Miami airport was my port of entrance. And then I flew to California and the guy was asking me questions. I'm innocent. Like, I don't know what he's asking. And then he went like that. And then he got a paper and I read the questions. I'm like, oh, the regular questions, like, do you have luggage that you don't know what it contains? Or like, did anybody give you anything that you don't know what it is? And I'm like, oh yeah, no, whatever. Like, but when he was talking to me, I was like, oh my God. And then I remember the first year, so I left Argentina on December 9th and I arrived to the States on December 10th. And the first Mother's Day, so it obviously in the States is in May, but in Argentina is the third Sunday of October. So May came and went, and then it's October, and I'm like, oh, I don't have a Mother's Day card to send my mom. Where I'm going to get a birthday card in Spanish in October, right? So I was like, Mommy, I'm so sorry. And then the following year, I bought the card in May and I saved it until October to send it to her. So, like, a lot of different details like that. I found a lot of people who were very helpful and a lot of people who were bullying me because I have an accent and because I didn't say the word properly or whatever. But I felt I was where I needed to be at the time. So I pushed through, I guess. And it wasn't until I moved. So I was living in a Hispanic neighborhood with my uncle. And so I learned Mexican, right? In addition to Argentinian Spanish. And then I moved into a white neighborhood and I learned English in no time because once you are immersed, you have to learn it. Like there is no, oh, like no, these people didn't speak Spanish, so it was like, so I remember one of my first phrases was more slowly, please, right? Because we have a natural tendency to speak very fast in our first language. And I was working at a laundromat where like you drop off your clothes and then you go pick them up. And it was like, if you don't slow down, I'm gonna put the starch that I want in your shirts, like because like I mean, and I didn't understand. So, and there were a lot of people who were very helpful, and some that were not. But that's how people are,
Yeah,
right?
you'll have that everywhere, right? You have people that'll be willing to help,
Yes,
and then people that are just look at you and sneer and walk away, right?
yes. We are so afraid of who or what is different, and
That's
it
very true.
can bring a lot of, like, it just like if you would taken the time to get to know me, right? But it was like, oh, like, you're saying this word wrong or whatever, and that reflected later on. I had a manager who was bullying me every day until one time I said, um can you read a book in Spanish? No. Okay. And I turned around and left, and he didn't bully me after that
So is
anymore.
that where the swearing therapist started? You started swearing at that guy and
No, no,
walking away?
no.
No,
That
no.
that came no, no, no. That came later. But because I mean, English is my second language. But if you are trying to learn Spanish, I'm not gonna bully you. I'm gonna help you, right? And it was words that were mispronounced, but I learned a second language at 31, right? It's not like I moved here when I was a kid. So, but it's like, okay, can you read a book in Spanish?
I know I can't. I could sit there and look
Right?
at it,
So
but it doesn't make any sense to
that
me.
was the end of the conversation, right? That was the end of the bullying, because it's like, come on, you are not, if anything, I speak two languages and you don't, right? And I'm not throwing that in your face.
Right, right, exactly. So you came here and then actually went for education to better yourself in your 40s and 50s. How was that different than a typical education for you?
Yes, so I was 42 and I was working in accounting in a corporation, and started thinking about my future, and I was like, I'm not sure I want to continue to do this for another 20 plus years. And I always had this passion for helping people. So I was like, oh, I want to be a therapist. What do I need to do to be a therapist? Oh, I need to go to school. So and I think that is so important to make this point, because while I started school at 42, my bachelor's, but I still continued to work in accounting. I did both in parallel, right? Because a lot of times we're like, oh, I had to stop everything. No, no, no. You can do both. Um, and I I personally found, because like I had all the trauma, right? So I remember going to one of my first professors, one of the first classes that I took, because participation was a big part of the grade. And I went into his office and I was like, I'm ashamed of participating. So he grabbed a book, bless his heart. He grabbed a book, opened it, and made me read sentences from the book. And it said, I understand everything that you're saying. I want you to participate. And that absolutely changed the way that I approach higher education, because I didn't shut up anymore, right? Like, so I was not ashamed anymore. And I personally found that professors were very accommodating and very fond of having me there, because they knew I was there because I really wanted to be there, right? Like versus the 18-year-olds and 20-year-olds that grandpa was the one paying for the tuition, Is I was there because I wanted to be there. So I graduated at 46 with my bachelor's, and I was on track to do my master's. In 6 weeks after graduation, I got diagnosed with breast cancer, which completely changed my priorities, right? Like life is what happens when you have other plans.
Right.
So I moved back to Argentina. I took care of my health, and then 3 years in there, and I was like, I want to celebrate my 50th birthday in America. And I asked God for a sign. Be careful what you ask for. And I asked for a sign, and I got a banner, right? Like, so I got an email from the university where I graduated with my bachelor saying, into my personal email, because I wasn't a student anymore, into my personal email saying like, hey, we have the advanced master program. Do you want to enroll? I was like, yes, that's the sign that I've been looking for. And then I moved back to Las Vegas, and I celebrated my 50th birthday there, and I started my master's at 50. I graduated at 51, and I became independently licensed at 53 and a half. So my motto is, I had cancer. Cancer didn't have me.
That's a
And
good way
you
to think
can
about it.
apply that to any challenge that you're facing, right? Because if anything, cancer came to show me how bad I wanted to be a therapist. Because nobody would have blamed me if I went back to accounting.
Right.
But it didn't stop me. It only delayed me. So the swearing therapist comes because I think when I had my cancer diagnosis, I am a recovered people pleaser. And when I had my cancer diagnosis, it completely changed my priorities. So I put myself first, and I took that to heart. So this is how I talk, right? I'm keeping it very clean for your show so
Right.
far. But when I do, like, if you want to do therapy with me, I offer a free consultation call. And during that call, I'm going to say a couple of swear. I will swear. So if you are not comfortable with that, I'm not the therapist for you. And I'm okay with that. Like, we either click or we don't. Either
Right.
way, I sleep at night. Not from a like, oh, I don't care, but really, I know I'm not everybody's cup of tea. And I came to terms with that. I'm okay with that. I'm glad that you reach out so I can give you referrals to a therapist that I think is going to be a better fit for you. But if we click, you are all in, right? Like 90% of the success of the therapeutic relationship, the therapeutic success is the relationship.
Right.
So if we don't click, you're not going to trust me. If you don't trust me, you're not going to open up. So it doesn't matter how good of a therapist I am. If we don't click, we are not going to get anywhere, right? And I work with highly disciplined adults who want to get better. And I'm being very careful with the words that I'm using, because I used to say highly motivated adults, but motivation is overrated, because you've been doing stuff your entire life you were not motivated to do. You went to work when you were sick. If you had a kid, you got up and breastfed your kid when you are in pain. Like, no. What we need is discipline, not motivation, because discipline is what's going to make you do what you don't want to do.
Right.
While motivation is saying, oh, well, I'm not motivated, I'm not going to do it. Okay. So I have clients telling me, oh, I'm too old to go back to school. Excuse me? I started my bachelor's at 42, my master's at 50, and English is my first language. You are barking at the wrong tree. Just say that you're not passionate, or like, don't, it's an excuse.
Yeah, I came when I went to school, I was in my mid 20s and I went straight from bachelor's or associates to bachelor's to master's. straight through because I was like, if I'm going to put myself through this, I'm going to do it once and I'm not going to stop and then restart. You had a reason to kind of stop and then restart, but um, did you ever feel out of place or behind compared to the younger students going to school? I know you talked about the ability, you felt a little discouraged, but anything else that happened? Did you ever feel
No,
behind
if
compared to everybody
anything,
else?
my classmates, because when I did my master's, my classmates were in their mid 20s, right? 23, 25. And and I was 50. So I was kind of like the mom and the grandma to some of them in the classroom. I was older than some of my professors, right? But if anything, they kept me young and I kept them grounded, right? Like we felt like they were teaching me about Instagram and social media, and I was teaching them about my life experiences, right? I am an immigrant. I had traumatic events. I've been through abusive relationships. So it's like the stuff that we are reading in the book, I experience it, right? And it's like, okay, like, so let me give you my perspective from my own personal experience. Not let me look on chapter 15, paragraph 3. Like, no, like, let me tell you, right? Like, so, and actually being older is an asset in my profession because clients feel like I had when I was doing my internship. I had colleagues who, like, I remember one of them, she was probably 26 or 27 and she looked 13. So that didn't help her. And she will be telling, like, I will be telling clients about, giving tips on parenting skills or whatever. They never question me. Like, they never asked me, do you have kids? They took them. But with her, they'll be like, do you have kids? You don't know what you're talking about, blah, blah, blah. Because it's like, right, you are, and you look so young. They never asked me if I had kids. I don't have kids. I would have told them the truth if they asked me, but they took it at face value because it's coming from an older person. All right, like whatever works, like so. But in this profession, it's not like I started a master's in AI at 50. Is it about life, right? In human connection. So it's like, okay, my age and my personal experience is an asset.
What kept you going when quitting would have been easier?
I honestly, I didn't even know that quitting was a possibility. I'm not a quitter. So I didn't know I could quit, right? Like it never crossed my mind. But one of the things that early on in my diagnosis helped me a lot was changing my mindset about it, right? Because my first reaction when I got the diagnosis was, why me? And after a couple of days pondering that question, so again, I don't have children, but at that time, my mom was alive. So I had a mom and I had a sister and I have nieces and I had girlfriends. And I start thinking, if it's not me, would I have preferred that it was one of them who had the breast cancer? And the answer was no. So I switched the question from why me to why not me, which took me away from a victim mentality of why me to why not me. And once I switched the question, I had a decision to make. I can sit in the corner and cry myself until I die, or I stand up and fight. And obviously, spoiler alert, I took the second one, right? Here I am. But also, I think the discipline, right, that I took prior, not the motivation. I wasn't motivated to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go to the hospital to get my treatment. But it was my discipline that I pray a lot, and I believe in God, and I also believe that I need to do my part. Right? I'm praying, but I need to do my part. So it's like, okay, the attitude that I had while doing my treatment, like I will go, to I refused the regular chemo, but I had a different type of treatment which is similar to chemo, but it's not chemo. And when you are in treatment, the nurses come and they ask for your name and your date of birth, and I will tell them, like, I'm Kim Kardashian, right? Like the Argentinian version of Kim, and they will be like, and I'm like, is right. And then I will say my real name, and we would laugh about it. And they used to tell me, like, we know you're going to be okay because of your attitude coming to the treatment, right? Like, so there were times that it was very hard, and during those times I told myself, today is a bad day, but tomorrow might be a better one. So I didn't allow the negative thoughts to consume me, that I was going to feel that way for the rest of my life. It's like, okay, today I'm feeling this way. Tomorrow might be different. And I just kept pushing through like that. What I tell my clients is to break it down into manageable pieces, whatever it is that you are facing. When I first quit smoking, I wanted to shoot people the first year that I quit. I was so angry. Oh my God, it was one of the hardest things I ever done. And I trick my brain. When I had a craving, I will tell myself, I'm not going to pick up this craving, but the next one. And I just kept pushing through one craving at a time. And it became 1 hour. And then that I didn't smoke. And it was 12, and it was 24, and then it was 1 week. And I celebrated 25 years this year that I quit smoking. But at the time, it was just pushing through that craving. If you told me at that time, you're not going to smoke for 25 years, I would have run to 7-Eleven to get me cigarettes, right? But it was like, no, this craving, I'm not going to smoke, but the next one. So anything that you are facing, if you can break it down into manageable pieces, if whatever it is that is in front of you, I ask you, do you think you can push through for 15 minutes? Well, yeah, 15 minutes is manageable, right? You just push through for 15 minutes. And then at the end of the 15 minutes, you rinse and repeat. You keep pushing for another 15 minutes. 4 of those makes 1 hour. 24 of those makes 1 day. 7 of those makes 1 week, and so on and so forth. So I think that what kept me going was coming back to the present moment and hoping that tomorrow is going to be different, right? Not getting so caught up into, oh my God, I'm going to feel this sick the rest of my life, or this bad the rest of my life. So it's like, but really another thing was that I didn't even know that quitting, like going back to school again, like cancer came to show me how bad I wanted to be a therapist. But it was like, it delayed me, but it never stopped me, right? And it's like, oh, okay, like, oh, okay, I'm 50, okay, I can walk, I can drive, I can talk, my brain still works. So I'm gonna, I feel better. So, because at the beginning, the treatment is very intense, but as the time goes by, it's like more maintenance, right? So I'm like, oh, okay, I can continue my treatment and still go to school. So and it's a process, right? Like me being a therapist didn't happen overnight. And this present that I have right now, which allows me to work virtually from another country, which I'm going to get into in a minute. It started in 2007 when I took my first English 101 class, right? Like it didn't happen overnight, and we want it tomorrow. It's like Jeff Bezos, like Amazon didn't become what it is overnight. He was shipping books from his garage after work, right? Like, so it's
Right.
like, are we willing to do that, right? Are we willing to have the discipline and to put the time in? So no, we want the empire tomorrow. Well, I got news for you. It doesn't happen like that, right? So just keep pushing through 15 minutes at a time.
Yeah, I used to smoke, and it took me a few attempts to quit smoking, but it kind of comes down to what you were saying before, attitude and determination, right? If you have a piss poor attitude, it ain't gonna get you very far, right? If you think that I'm not gonna do this because I'm gonna fail, well, you're already giving yourself that predisposed failure notice, like, hey, I'm just gonna throw up the white flag, I'm done.
Right. And so, and even if the social work didn't work for me, I can go back and continue to work in accounting, right? So it's like, I wouldn't have the what if in my head, right? Like whatever adventure you want to try, if it doesn't work, you're going to be back at where you are now. But what if it does work? So basically, you have nothing to lose, because if it doesn't work out, you are back where you are at now, but at least you try it. So you gain information of how not to do something, or how not to do it this way, or whatever. So it's not a wasted opportunity or a wasted event. It's like, oh, I learned that this way doesn't work.
Yeah, it's like anything. The more data you have, the more you can make a decision from, right? You have one data point, you can make a decision and it's wrong. You have 10, well, you can see trends up and down. You can kind of figure out, like, is this working or is it not working? You know, the,
Absolutely, you can make an informed decision.
right.
Exactly.
So every lived experience gives you that one more opportunity to have a data point to be able to have a good solution possibly moving forward.
Exactly. So you win either way, even if it ends up not working out for you. That doesn't mean that you fail. I think that we fail when we give up.
That's that's a lot of
That's
it
the real
is,
failure.
yes. Yeah, everybody gets knocked down. It depends on what level. Some people have gotten the shit kicked out of them through their whole life, but they still fight and they still keep moving forward no matter what. And that's kind of the whole meaning of everything is we're all going to have that struggle. We're all going to have the waves of up and downs. A big thing is to try to get through those negative aspects. Try to create a positive um, it, positive feedback from it, and move forward and move on.
Absolutely. And to that point, it's not about not falling, it's about not remaining on the ground.
Right.
So if you fall down 7 times, you get up 8.
So were there some moments when you were going through all of this between the cancer, the schooling, and kind of going from Argentina to U.S. back to Argentina back to U.S. Were there times when like fear, depression almost got the best of you?
Yes. There were several times during that process where I was like, I cannot do this. And again, like I had my therapist was paramount in that. I had support. And the thing was to not allow the negative thoughts to over, like I will think, like I will tell my therapist, I cannot do this. When I was doing my internship, I was like, I can, you need the internship in order to become officially a therapist. And the amount of paperwork and the trauma and like everything that I experienced, I was like, I cannot do this. So she helped me by doing a timeline of my life. And my internship was like a blip in there, right? And that helped me a lot. So what saved me from myself was the support from family and friends and professionals, and truly taking a look back at my own life, and if everything that I had overcame could not take me out, why will this particular event take me out? It's like you forgot who you are. So but there are certain times where we all forget, and that's why we need our people to remind us, right? Like I had several times with my therapist where she believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself. And that truly saved me at the time, because I had one person who knew absolutely everything about me and still had faith in me. So it's like, oh, well, and she's been right before, right? Because like there were times where I'm looking at her like, well, I'm not sure I believe you, but you've been right before, so I trust you, right? Like she will be saying stuff, and I'm like, I don't know what was in your coffee today, but I trust her. So I was like, I'm not sure you're right, but you've been right before, so I trust you. In that kept me moving forward, because it was like, she saw my potential. I always say, when you are in the picture, you cannot see the picture. That's why it's so easy for us to see other people's potential and what is going on and how to resolve it and everything. But we cannot get out of bed today, right? Like, so, but it's like, I think she saw it, and then she was giving me that, and I'm like, I don't know what she's looking at.
I think, you make a very important point, and I think a lot of people lose the translation. Like a lot of people now prefer the coach and mentor versus the tough love type person saying, "Well, suck it up and just do it." Well, that's fine, but the coaching and mentoring, somebody talks with you, explains, and then kind of helps you along your path. The tough love says you need to be here, you need to get here now, and you're doing it on your own. Where coaching and mentoring is says, okay, that's fine. We can do this together. I'll help you, and then we can develop you and make you where you want to be, and hopefully be somewhere in the future where you feel comfortable in your life.
Yes, absolutely. And that's exactly what she did for me. And all my therapists, I'm talking about one in particular because is the one that I work with the longest, but all my therapists were able to present a different perspective. And that's what I aspire to do with my clients when I'm working with them. It's like, oh, have you considered blah, blah, blah? And it's, oh, I never thought of that. And I'm like, that's what you pay the big bucks for, right? Like, so because I am there to provide you with a different perspective.
Taking a quick pause here. If this episode is resonating, I would love for you to follow the No One is Normal podcast on whatever platform you listen on. Every follow helps this show reach people who might need these stories. Now let's jump back in. How do you explain anxiety to someone who doesn't really understand it?
In a nutshell, anxiety is about trying to control the future, which is impossible because the future is not even here. Oh, what's going to happen on Monday on my meeting? And you might die tonight. You're not going to make it to Monday. Don't worry about it. Right? Like, so that, well, if you put it like that, but really, nobody has tomorrow guaranteed. The only thing that we have is right now, is this moment, right? So you are trying to control something that is not even here, which is impossible. So the best thing that you can do is to manage anxiety is literally to get out of your head and back into the present moment. Those are called grounding techniques, because when you are fully present, you are grounded. If I ask you to take a deep breath and describe the picture that is next to you, you cannot be freaking out about Monday's meeting and describe the picture. So you are sending a message to your brain that I know you want to freak out about Monday, but we are going to describe the picture right now, right? Like, so you are taking control of your brain, not allowing your brain to take control of you. I always say you are the CEO of Brad Corporation. You are the CEO, not your brain. Your brain is one part of that corporation, but you are the one in charge. So if you picture yourself walking into the conference room and you are the one who's going to direct the meeting, not the brain. The brain is sitting there like, whoa, it's not going to work. Okay, keep it down, because we're going to talk about other stuff, right? You don't allow the brain to take over. So when you have anxiety, thoughts that create anxiety, deep breath that brings oxygen to your entire system, and then immediately after, you either describe something with your eyes or you touch something and you describe what you are touching. That brings you back to the present moment. And then you develop a plan. Okay, so I have a meeting on Monday. I don't feel prepared. So what I can do is I can do more research. I can find more information. When you are doing, there is no anxiety, because you don't have time. You are typing, you are Googling, you are finding information. You are focused on what you are doing. So you always come back to the present moment. That's for anxiety, right? Trying to control the future. Depression is guilt about the past, which cannot be changed either. Whatever happened, happened. So again, we gain information from that event. And when you know better, you do better. So the best thing that we can do about something from the past is to learn from it so we can make better decisions moving forward. So if I overreacted in our conversation, I can learn from that. And next time that I'm getting triggered, I might say, hold on, Brad, I need 5 minutes, right? Instead of, like, I cannot go back and take back that time that I overreacted. And one of the things that I tell people, especially with grief, right? Like when someone passes away, and it's like, oh my God, I didn't tell this person I love them. You cannot go back and tell that person you love them, but you can learn from that and start telling the people who are in your life right now, I love you. So you don't get the same regrets with the people that you can change it now, right? So that's learning from, so, oh my God, like my mom died and I didn't tell her enough, or I didn't spend enough time, or whatever it might be. Okay, I have my dad and I have my siblings and I have loved ones and I have my friends. So let me, what I couldn't do for my mom or with my mom, I'm going to do it with you and for you, right? And that is honoring the person who passed, because it's like, okay, I didn't know better, but now I feel all that regret. And what do I do with that? I can apply it in the present moment.
I think the way you're stating it too, I think really is kind of powerful, right? You're in your present, the past is the past. That's the depression. Everything is kind of based on your past. Anxiety is trying to get through the future events. That is kind of the scope of, we are always trying to rewrite the past and always trying to figure out our future. That is a good way to kind of keep those feelings festering and harboring and coming back back to the surface until you come back to your present, because you can work on the present. You can't work on your future because it's not here yet. You can't work on your past because it's already there.
Exactly. And while you are trying to rewrite the past or worrying about the future, you're missing the present moment, because this moment is not coming back. So if I'm crying because I didn't tell my mom I love you enough, I'm missing the opportunity, which is okay. But then I dry my tears and I tell you I love you because I do have you in front of me.
I think some people sometimes get hung up on that. And I didn't get to say I love you. I didn't get to say goodbye. They knew and felt your love. It doesn't have to be spoken. It's felt. I mean, sometimes that means more than just, oh, I didn't get to say goodbye. Well, they felt your love.
And plus, I firmly I believe that our loved ones remain in our heart, right? Like, so I lost my mom passed away, my dad passed away, but they are in my heart. So if I'm like going through something, I put my hands on my heart. I'm like, okay, mommy, like, what do you have to say about this? And then I wait for the answer, right? So it's like, I think that a great definition of grief that I learned is grief is love that has nowhere to go.
Powerful. Yeah,
If you didn't care about that person, you wouldn't be grieving.
exactly.
The reason why you are so hurt is because you love them so much.
Hmm.
So how can you honor them? They, like, if you die and you have the opportunity to look at the people that you left behind, I'm sure that none of us will want everybody to be sad all the time, right? So it's like, how can I honor you, your memory, by, so I'm doing this to honor your memory, to celebrate your life. So like I remember for my mom's birthday, I will buy flowers and give it to strangers, right? Because she had a green thumb. She loved her garden. And I will be saying, like, this is to honor my mom, who is no longer with me. Oh my God, and I will get a hug from a stranger, because like at the beginning, they're like, the fuck? But then it's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. But it was like to honor her, because I don't have her to give those flowers to. And it, for a loved one, go to their favorite restaurant and order their favorite dish. To honor them, it's not the dish, it's not the restaurant, it's the intention behind it.
Hmm.
This is to honor you. I have your loved one loved the Super Bowl. Watch the Super Bowl to honor them, even if your team is not playing. Have that beer to honor them, because it's like, it's not about watching the game. That's irrelevant, but that's what they enjoy. So that's how you are honoring them.
I think some of the aspects of grief, and when you kind of think about it and put it, when you look in the mirror, it's more guilt than grief, because you may have done something else instead of seeing them, and you have that built-in feeling that you can't get rid of, because I should have been there and I wasn't. But it's okay. You
Right.
can't
And that's why I'm
predict
saying,
that.
like, okay, learn from that and then make a different decision about Brad that is now in your life, and you can make a different decision for Brad and spend time with Brad.
How do you challenge the negative thoughts that people feel are true?
Yeah, so I have a cool exercise. So you identify first, you identify the negative thoughts. So let's say that um, you made a mistake at work, and the negative thought is, I'm a failure, right? So you're going to write that down at the top of the page, and then you're going to answer these questions based on that statement, that I'm a failure. So the first question is there evidence to support this this feeling? Yes, because I made this mistake, blah, 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 blah. Second question is there evidence contrary to this thought? Well, yes, I usually don't make these kind of mistakes. Like I'm performing above average 80% of the time. So you start listing all the evidence against that thought. That is there too, but you're not seeing it because you're not looking for it. Then the next question is, am I attempting to analyze this situation without all the evidence? Which is yes, because you just did it in the prior two. Next question is, what would a friend say about this situation, this thought? Well, a friend might say like, oh, come on, you're not a failure. You just made a mistake, but most of the time you're good at your job. You've been there for 15 years. Like, okay, or you are on time, or you are detail oriented, whatever. So you write that down. And then the next question is, will this matter in a month, in a year, in 5 years, right? So at the end of, so it's kind of like we're putting this thought on trial, right? And we're cross-examining. So you read your answers, and then at the exercise is, the purpose of the exercise is that thought cannot stand because it's not true. Because I'm a failure, it means that everything in me is a failure, rather than I made a mistake. That I guarantee you, I'm never going to make that mistake again, because I'm feeling so guilty that I'm going to make the photocopy of that again. Like, it's not going to happen again because I'm learning from it. But when I say I'm a failure or nobody loves me, right? Like I broke up, and my boyfriend left me, and nobody loves me. Well, does your mom love you? Well, but it's my mom. I know a lot of moms who don't love their children. So it doesn't matter that it's your mom. But I am questioning, right? The sentence that I am unlovable. Nobody loves me. I'm proving to you that I love you. Well, but you're my friend. No, it doesn't matter. You're missing the point, because I love you because you are lovable, right? Or you don't need to be lovable to be loved. I can love you even if you're unlovable. But nobody loves me. Nobody. I'm a failure. I'm the worst. I'm whatever. Absolutes, right? So at the end of the cross-examine, right, of that thought, it cannot stand because it's not true. So you can say, so it loses its power, because then I went from I'm a failure to I'm human and I made a mistake, and I'm going to learn from it, and to the best of my ability, I'm not going to make that mistake again.
So you take negative self-talk, right? And a lot of people are very guilty of this. Just think, would you say that to one of your good friends, like you were saying? Would you say that same thing to them? And if not, why are you saying it to yourself? You know, it's easy for us to throw out forgiveness to anybody and say, I forgive you for this and for that. But when we look in a mirror, we really have to start forgiving ourselves.
We are our worst enemies, right? Like if I told you you're ugly, you're old, you're fat, you're stupid, you're this, you're that, you're gonna be like, peace out. I'm not gonna be your friend anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna allow you to mistreat me like that. But we have nowhere to go from ourselves. So I think that our expectations of other people here, which are so unrealistic. So I need to be perfect. And how is that realistic? So yes, to your point, like it's so easy for me to forgive you, but it's like, no, I should have done it perfectly, right? Like, and it's like, I think that we need to exercise more self-compassion and to give ourselves grace. And this is something that I work on myself every day, because if I overreact or I react differently than what I'm I usually do. So, why did I react that way? Because you were having a bad day that day, right? It doesn't mean that, oh my God, but I will give you grace if you overreacted. I'll be like, well, Brad, you were tired. There was a lot going on, like you were not expecting. I don't do that for myself. So it's like to start applying what the grace that we give others, to give it to ourselves, because it's like, come on, it's not working out. Because when you give in to these negative thoughts, that's when you feel sad and you feel blue and you can potentially develop depression. And it's like our our mind is so powerful, but again, we are in control of that mind. It's not the other way around. But when I allow that thought, I'm a failure, when I start believing that, that's when the feeling of sadness comes in. I have an example I like to give to illustrate this, how powerful our feelings are, our thoughts are. You are driving, I cut you off. And you get all pissed off, like, are you blind? Did you get your driver license in a cereal box? Blah, blah, blah. I ruined your day. And I'm gone because I cut you off. What if I told you I cut you off because my kid had an accident? Would you feel differently?
That is what a lot of people go through is they don't understand what people are going through in that moment, and they let anger bubble up and create
Right?
that circumstance.
So if you think like, oh my God, she had an emergency, it might elicit feelings of compassion instead of the anger. Well, you don't know the truth, because I'm the one who cut you off and it's gone. But you are choosing, she's blind in being angry, or she had an emergency and having compassion. Which one do you want? Because by being angry, I ruin your day. You allowed me, you gave me that power to ruin your day. You don't even know who I am.
Right.
Because I cut you off and I'm gone. That's why I cut you off. And I ruin your day. I am that powerful if you give your power away. So when you are driving, so that's why it's so important that we check in our thoughts, because thoughts influence our feelings. Because if you're thinking, oh my God, she had an emergency, you will have compassion, no anger. And your day is going to be a lot better because you are not giving your power away to me. So when you are thinking, I'm a failure, you're going to feel sad because you're making that your reality. That's how powerful our thoughts are. And that's why it's so important that we continuously identify and challenge those thoughts so that they don't become our feelings.
Our lives and our brains are 24/7, right? That neon sign is always on, and it's very easy to kind of forget that. And you know, people that you have coming in your life they have a couple hours. They might do or say something that makes you mad, and you get over it. We have the opportunity to be in our own head for 24/7, and it's important to not do that.
Yes, because you're having people in your head who are living there rent free.
Right.
You need to evict them. Like you're thinking about, like I'm thinking about that manager who bullied me 20 years ago. I'm not thinking all the time about it, but if I was, I need to evict him. Like he probably doesn't even remember Zulma or what he said to Zulma 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But by me keeping it in my head, I'm keeping it alive. We need to start evicting people from our heads because it's overpopulated in there and it's not good.
I liken it to carrying bricks. Eventually, those bricks get too heavy to carry, right? So you kind of use the bricks to put a foundation down, stop carrying them.
Yes, I love that.
So you kind of mentioned that you were in the U.S. and now you are no longer in the U.S. Can you tell us a little bit about that story?
So last year I turned 60. Um, and I went to celebrate my 60th birthday in Hawaii. And I love the ocean. And I was like, I had the best 4 days of my life. I went alone. My friends couldn't go. I didn't care. But it was like I was in the water the entire time. And I was so relaxed, and there was no anxiety. And I was so grounded. And I was like, I need to figure it out a way of living by the ocean. And after living in the desert for 26 years, I say I pay my dues. And I started meditating. I don't like the East Coast. I don't like hurricanes. So Florida was out of the question. And so it was going to be Hawaii or California. And I couldn't afford neither one of those places. So I started meditating and praying about it. And my answer was Panama. So now I'm living in Panama. I moved in December as on December 10th, because that was the day that I arrived to the United States 29 years prior. So it's a very significant date, time for me. And I moved to Panama on December 10th. And now I'm looking at the ocean from my balcony. Um, I found an apartment literally on the beach, and I can hear the ocean and look out the window and see it, and it's very relaxing. And every time that I get the opportunity, like if I have a client cancel, I put my bathing suit and I go downstairs and I get in the water. So it's never too late. I guess that that's the message. It's like, I wanted to live by the ocean for a long, long time. And it's like we have to think out of the box, right? Like if I would have moved to Hawaii to do it, I would have to have 3 jobs in order to afford my life there, which wouldn't allow me time to go to the to the water, because it defeats the purpose, right? Like, so it's like, well, maybe it's not in the United States that I'm gonna be able to do that. And my mindset in doing this was like, what is the worst that can happen? It doesn't work out. I live 6 months by the beach. Okay.
Right.
And I learned that it doesn't work out,
That's a fair
right?
trade, right?
Again, information. So, but so far it's been working out. And no, without its challenges, but I am super happy. I am a lot more relaxed, and I spend as much time as I can in the water. It's not like I'm in the water. Like I don't spend time on the beach. It's like I don't lay down and sunbathe. I'm in the water. And it's very healing for,
Mhm.
physically, mentally, emotionally, for my soul. So um, I think that when we have that desire, that passion, that next thing that we want to do, if we are truly passionate about it, we are going to find a way of getting it done.
Right.
It's only been 6 weeks, but so far I've been enjoying them every day. So we'll see what happens. But so I moved from Argentina to America, from America to Argentina, from Argentina to America, and now from America to Panama. So
Mm.
it's a different culture again. And and it's like before I move, I was telling myself, okay, you need to give yourself 6 months to adjust, right? Like it's not going to happen overnight. And I have a tendency to, again, like have this expectation that I should get it done, right? Like in yesterday. And I need to adjust to 29 years that I live in America. I'm more American than Argentinian.
Hmm.
But because here the language is Spanish, I speak in Spanish, but it's like, no, you need to understand, I'm American, right? Like, it's like my mentality, I spent the last 29 years in a different culture. So when I'm asking that shit should be working properly or whatever, I need to readjust that, okay, I'm not in America anymore. Right? Like, there is no, let me talk to the manager. When I went back to Argentina, I have something similar in 2012. My friends and my family were like, you need to calm down. You're going to have a stroke, because I was like, but and it's like, yeah, but they're used to that. And I had forgotten, because I live all that time in America. And they were like, you need to come down. So one person that grounds me a lot is my nephew. And he's an adult, and he's like, okay. So like when I'm getting literally in my head, I run it by him, because he's like, okay, okay, this is how it is, because he still lives in Argentina. He lived with me in America for several months, but so he understands a little bit of what I'm saying, because he was there, right? Like, I will open my garage from around the corner, and that is something that in Argentina you cannot do, because you're gonna get robbed, right? Like, so he will mention those things to his friends, and so he observed those things. So now it's like, yeah, you need to get used to living in a different culture again, and is doable. I'm still here, but it's like, again, like, oh, I'm not thinking of I'm gonna go back to America. I'm thinking of how the fuck I'm gonna resolve the issue that is in front of me right now, right? Like, it's not about, oh, I leave everything and I go back to America. It's like, there is a reason why I left. I was tired of living in the desert.
Hmm.
So it's like, okay, well, maybe you need to give yourself time and continue to adjust. But um that external point of view, what is like, yeah, this is how things are in these countries, and it's okay, it's different, it's not better, it's not worse, it's different, because all the people who live here had adjusted or grew up with those rules, and they're still here. All the people in Argentina that I know been there, and they're still living there. So it's like, you want to, you know that it can be better, it can be different, and it's like, well, but it's not how it is. So I had to make a decision.
Yeah, I had the fortunate opportunity to travel quite a bit and see a lot of different cultures, and it's kind of amazing the subtle differences, but as a universal people, we're all fairly much the same, and it just depends on where you are. It doesn't really matter the tone of your skin, the your sex, your religion. Everybody's kind of the same. We come here, we live, we do the best we can, and hopefully leave our legacy. What would you say to someone who feels really broken right now and needs some re-encouragement?
I will say that if you woke up today, that means that your mission in life is not complete. So keep putting one foot in front of the other, and you're going to overcome the challenge you're currently facing. I will also say that look back at your own life and realize that all the challenges that you have faced before, and they could not take you out. How do I know? Because you're here. So you have 100% track record of being successful at overcoming challenges. This is not me saying like, oh, I believe in you. This is you analyzing your own data from your own life. So if you overcame all those instances, you might be tired. That's different than broken. When you are tired, you need to rest, but do not give up.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's important. Everything you kind of just said is it's really important. You know, overcoming that. It's easy to say, right? Overcoming that emotion that you're currently in, and trying to get out of a funk. It's very hard. Where can people connect with you and get like real mental health support? And tell us kind of about what you're working on, a website or anything somebody can reach out to talk with you.
So I'm licensed in Arizona, Colorado, Nevada, Texas, and Utah. So in order to provide services, the potential client needs to live in one of those states. But you can reach out to me even if you're in a different state, and I will do my best to provide you with resources that might be helpful. So my website is dragonflytherapyservices.net. And my Instagram is the sweating therapist. So I have a lot of videos. They are not as clean as this interview, so be careful if you have children in the car. And I have my own podcast that's called Keeping It Real with Zulma, the swearing therapist. All the episodes are explicit, so again, if you have children in the car, might not be the appropriate time to be listening to it. But I have, like, I share on my podcast personal stories, but also some of the episodes are about mental health and different suggestions about communication or anxiety or depression. So, but whatever you want to ask me, I'm more than happy to respond, even if I cannot directly provide you with therapy services.
Well, Zuma, I really appreciate having you on as a guest. Thank you for our conversation. Hopefully, people will listen and hopefully take something away from it. And just thank you for the good conversation.
Thank you. It's been such a pleasure.
Some healing doesn't arrive as relief, it arrives as understanding. Progress often comes from learning to stay present with what is, rather than fighting what was or worrying about what might be. If this episode resonated, it may be because many people are carrying more than they admit. And sometimes the most meaningful shift is realizing you've already survived more than you give yourself credit for. To learn more about Zulma's work and access mental health resources, you can visit www.dragonflytherapyservices.net or reach out via email at info@dragonflytherapyservices.net. Just a reminder, the stories and conversations in this podcast are for informational and personal reflection only. Nothing shared here should be taken as medical, legal, or professional advice. Always speak with a qualified professional about your own personal situation. Thank you for listening to No One Is Normal. If today's message resonated with you, you can find the book No One Is Normal on Amazon and Kindle, and explore more resources at www.bradhhill.com or www.nooneisnormal.co. Remember, you weren't meant to be normal, you were meant to be you.